Karl Rove was confronted by an Iraqi vet during a speaking engagement at UConn earlier this week and refused to admit any fault whatsoever in pushing for the war between the U.S. and Iraq. So first here, you're going to see the Iraqi vet's comments and question for Karl Rove, and we'll have his response a little bit later.
When I was 20 years old, like many students here, I had a lot of questions about life and the way the world worked. Back then, I was known as Private Brian Henowitz, and I was about to invade Iraq as a medic for the 2nd Battalion, 7th Infantry Regiment. I saw my friends torn apart and Iraqi children screaming for their parents as indiscriminate shrapnel scarred them and us in ways that we will never know. We were exposed to more questions about life and death than any 20-year-old should have. These scars stay with me and other veterans who are now one of the highest demographics to commit suicide at a rate of 22 suicides per day and over thousands disabled. I've taken responsibility for my actions and dealt with my demons while advocating for a peaceful resolution for a war that was an act of aggression with no clear goal. Can you take responsibility and apologize for your decision in sending a generation to lose their humanity and deal with the horrors of war, which you have never had the courage to face? Will you apologize to the millions of fathers and mothers who lost their children on both sides of this useless war?
That is my alma mater right there, UConn. Yeah, that's a hard question to respond to, I think.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
What are you going to say? Well, first of all,
well, he should say, I'm sorry.
He's not.
He should be on his hands and knees begging for forgiveness from every single American and from every single Iraqi for the role that he played in pushing for this war.
Yeah.
You know, what's interesting there, and that, I mean, it's a very long question. You know, look how far we've come that you know, we're here in 2015, and obviously there was a time during the war when that kind of question got booed down, got shut up, and now, you know, I don't know whether
it's harder to do with a veteran, but
harder to do with a veteran, but I think there was a time when even a veteran would have got shot down.
Probably.
I mean, well, actually, for crying out loud, a veteran got shouted down at the Republican debates.
Yeah.
Right. You know.
Yeah. Look how they treated Kerry.
Look at the what?
Look how they treated Kerry.
Yeah. So I just think it's. You know, I mean, that's what. But anyway, I'm curious what he says.
Okay. Well, we've got his response.
I'm sure he apologized profusely.
Yeah, he was crying. It was heartfelt. Let's watch.
Right to remove Saddam Hussein from power was right. He had thumbed his nose at the international community, had passed at the United Nations 14 resolutions calling upon him to live up to the terms of the surrender agreement at the end of the First Gulf War. You know, that's accurate. 14 times he gave the finger to the United Nations. He refused to live up to his agreements. And he was a state sponsor of terrorism, and in the aftermath of 9/11, he represented Israel. He was burning tens of millions of dollars from the Oil for Food program to keep together the network of scientists and engineers in dual-use facilities to reconstitute his weapons programs. He admitted as much to his FBI interrogators. He said, the West is losing interest. The West is losing interest, and I was able to keep together these, and they would lose their interest, and the sanctions regime would fall out of place, and I would be able to reconstitute my WMD programs, and maybe I wouldn't be around, but Uday or Qusay, the sadistic bastards who were his son, would be able to govern in his behalf. It was the right thing to do. I appreciate your service for our country. I'm sorry for what you went through, but it was the right thing to remove Saddam Hussein from power. The United States government and the United States military was right to do so.
He's a fucking scumbag, this guy. I want to punch him in the face. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is embarrassing. We invaded another country and caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Iraqis and thousands of our soldiers, and trillions of dollars. And coincidentally, the stock price of Halliburton and all of his buddies in the defense contracting industry skyrocketed. This is, it's unbelievable that he won't apologize.
And just repeating the same answers that they gave, you know,
at the time,
thumbed his nose at the Security Council, you know, leaving out that the weapons inspectors were there saying can't find anything. Literally, can't find anything. Ignoring every single one of those points, eliminating that he actually eliminated the stockpile, making up that he reconstituted. And you know what else he did? The same thing they did before. They can't help themselves. He mentioned 9/11. He draws a connection between Saddam and 9/11.
Yeah, so I try to put myself in the mind, like I guess the boots, I suppose, is a fitting analogy for the sort of person who had influence over this decision And then you see month after month and year after year how it develops. And like, it's terrible now, obviously, but it was terrible for years. I mean, even before ISIS. And it has occurred to him multiple times, fuck, we fucked up. But then the human brain has to protect itself, because if you actually allowed yourself to focus on the thought that not only hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, thousands of Americans dying through IEDs and suicide explosions and being shot, but that then they come back, these veterans, and they're so destroyed by their experiences that they put guns in their mouths and they end their own lives. 22 every day, a large portion of which are committing suicide because of what they experienced from a war that you pushed for. If the human brain tried to accept that, it would shatter like glass. You couldn't keep your psyche together like that. And so he has retreated from it, that dark truth, like every human
But you can if you say, I am so sorry.
It's my fault that this happened.
Yes.
I don't think anyone could admit to it. It's sad, but it's
true. No,
I
think people can. There's a great apology from a prosecutor recently who played a role in sending an innocent man to death row for 30 years.
Yeah.
And he gave an amazing apology. And I like to believe that I and many other people would do the same when they realize, holy shit, I was so wrong, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, and I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I could take it all back.
I wish.
Because every single thing they said was wrong. They said we treat greeted as liberators. Wrong.
The war will be over in months, not years.
Wrong.
Weeks, not months.
They said the oil substance or the oil profits will pay for the war. Wrong. They're wrong about every single thing. WMDs, wrong. And this idea that it was all worth it because we removed Saddam Hussein, how is that worth it? Show me something. Show me how many people died before we removed him, and how many people died after we removed him. How is it?
By the way, since he was the biggest buffer to Iran, you can't be for the war and against this deal, like with Iran, because Saddam was the biggest buffer to Iran. Then, now that
that's the whole reason why we built him up.
Right, so now we have to make this deal for Iran because we got rid of Saddam. Pick one, but you can't. You make a point that was really the same point that I made about. Once again, you're just stealing my points. It's a little about Chris Kyle, Bradley Cooper. I don't know about Chris Kyle personally, but I was struck by at least the Chris Kyle version played by Bradley Cooper in the movie. And I thought the movie was really outstanding in American Sniper. That the brain can't. We can't accept the gravity of that mistake. Again, you're told, shoot 150 or 250, whatever it was, people for freedom, to protect American lives. And then the consensus has changed by 2006, and we're like, probably didn't need to do any of that, right? And then and we're expecting Chris Kyle to come back and do anything other than say, no, I was protecting freedom. I was doing what I had to do. I killed 250 people in the name of the United States. I don't think we're capable of anything else.
There's two things. First of all, I think Americans should see footage of war. I think we should see exactly what we're doing in Iraq. We should see the coffins coming home. We should see, what this soldier saw. We should see screaming kids. We should see people being killed. And if we still think that price that's being paid for this war is justified, then we keep doing it, okay? But we can't pretend that what we're doing is so noble and so wonderful, but not look at it and just eat our ice cream and pretend everything is fine while this is happening. And number two, when these soldiers come back, we have to take care of them. What's happening to veterans is an embarrassment. It's a national embarrassment. How long have to wait for their benefits to kick in? How long, how we give them no job training. I mean, we take people when they're 18, 19, 20, maybe up to 30, whatever it is. We tell them to go kill a whole bunch of people. And when they come back, we're like, okay, you're on your own now. Yeah. We need to give them every kind of counseling, training, and every support. Housing. The number of homeless vets, the number of vets who are committing suicide, plus all the vets who are maimed, and they would have died in previous years, but because of medical advances, we've kept them alive. What do we do for these people?